like to reach out my hand. Say you, tell you to run. Nobody say, nobody else. In search of the people's poetry, we decided the best place to start our journey was by asking the people.
What's the last poem you read?
I read a poem I wrote myself. It's on my fridge this morning, actually. I forget what I named it, but
Do you know what it's about?
it's about me and my struggles and how I conquered them.
What's the last song you listened to?
The last song I listened to is "We Belong" by Pat Benatar.
Ooh, good hit, good hit. Can you define poetry?
Poetry, I think, is the expression of thoughts and feelings through verse.
Do you remember the last poem you read?
Well, actually, it was a collection of poems I read because when my grandson has to use the bathroom, he likes his nursery rhyme book read to him. So we read the nursery rhyme book. So it was a whole bunch of poems, and it basically was the nursery rhymes.
What's the last poem you read?
Mirror by Sylvia Plath. I read it for an essay that I had to write in English.
Okay. Where around you in your everyday life do you see poetry?
I don't know.
What's the last poem you read?
Barbie Girl, last year in English.
And what's the last song you listened to?
Take Me to Church by Jose.
Would you consider those lyrics to be like poetic?
Yeah.
So Ms. O'Connell, as an English teacher, do you believe that there's other types of poetry besides like how it's traditionally considered?
I do, because in my classroom I don't get the opportunity to teach poetry in its traditional form. We don't have units in my classes on poetry, but music has become a very important part of our class.
Okay, and who's your favorite artist?
We really enjoy listening to Taylor Swift.
Oh, that's great. When was the last time you read poetry?
The last poem that I read was my 6th grade son Curtis's poem, and he had to write one for his English class 2 days ago.
When was the last time you read poetry?
I can't remember.
When was the last time you listened to music?
Last night, I listened to a live band. It was a Southern rock type of band, wasn't it? I thought it was.
Okay. And so would you say that music could be a type of poetry?
Sure. I think music is a form of poetry.
Thank you.
Seeing that a lot of people mention music, we decided to find out how prevalent it was in everyday lives. Would you consider poetry to be prevalent in your life?
Poetry. If music is poetry, it fills my life. It fills me up, yes.
Okay. What types of activities do you tend to do while listening to music?
Activities while I listen to music?
Or just like any like day-to-day thing, like when are you listening to
Okay,
music?
so it's so interesting that you ask what, like, if music is in the background or if music is something that I do in and of itself. I love nothing more, like I have a playlist that's a cleaning burst. I love to listen to music while I'm cleaning, while I'm doing a physical activity, but music while I'm trying to engage in a mental activity is not something I can handle, which is why the new initiative in our school with playing music between classes and into classes is
Yeah.
real. Yeah.
Okay, and when you listen to music, do you listen more for the meaning of like the lyrics, or is it more about the rhythm?
Both. Yeah, both are real important to me.
Okay, all right, awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. When was the last time you listened to music?
I listened to music in class yesterday, a Bob Dylan song, the times they are a-changin', and that was for U.S. history.
Okay.
Because I think you guys listened to that last
I remember that.
Yeah, we did. Do you have a favorite song?
I don't have a favorite song. I have a lot of favorite songs, and some of them are based upon the lyrics, like the stuff by Bob Dylan or Bruce Springsteen or the Beatles or groups like that. And then other songs really based upon the music, but it's mostly I would lean towards the lyrics in the meaning before I would lean towards the music.
Okay, awesome. All right,
Thank you.
Can you define poetry for us?
I would say that poetry is any meaningful arrangement of words.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where do you see poetry in your everyday life?
Well, you see it in music, or I should say you hear it in music, on the radio. I mean, you have Eminem. Now you get to watch her leave out the window. Guess that's why they call it window pane. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I do. So what types of things do you do while listening to music?
I actually listen to the lyrics, try to find a meaning in a song. I make up, like, my own visual of what the lyrics are trying to say. So yeah.
Awesome. All right,
Yeah.
thanks.
Thanks, Amy.
So what activities do you like to do while listening to music?
I like to drive around while I listen to music. I like to get ready in the morning while I listen to music. And I like to do homework while I listen to music.
If you think about it, music is a significant part of everyday life as it enhances daily activity.
She goes and she lives for me. Says she lives for me, ovation. Her own motivation. She comes round and she goes down on me. And I make you smile like a drug for you. Whoever what you wanna do, coming over you. Keep on smiling what we go through. One stop to the rhythm that defines you. And I speak to you like the chorus to the verse. Drop another line like a girl with the curves. Coming like a freak show, takes the stage. We give it the game, she plays to say, I want something else.
The more we look for poetry in our everyday lives, the more prevalent it becomes. But what does this say about our society? When was the last time that you read poetry?
Well, I don't read a lot of poetry, even though we learned about it a lot in school, but I actually went to a slam poetry event a couple weeks ago at Stonehill, which was really interesting.
Ooh, that's awesome. Who was it?
It was Carlos Andres Gomez.
Okay, can you tell us more about it?
He talked about talked a lot about like the current issues in society and like domestic violence and issues like with female image and stuff like that. So it was really cool.
Okay, and how do you think our society affects his ability to like say those things?
I think because we're more open to talking about current issues than other cultures are, that it was easier for him to say like pretty controversial things, and to a group of students especially, like that wouldn't happen in other cultures. So I think the fact that we're pretty democratic would help with that.
How do you think poetry in our society differs from other societies?
Well, in our society, we have more freedom of speech, so people can express themselves more and say more controversial things in poetry.
Our democratic society allows for freedom of speech, which in turn allows people to express themselves, especially through poetry.
Poetry is the lighthouse of life, guiding the lost from a stormy sea.
Without its presence, darkness prevails, keeping us from all we can be.
Poems are used to convey passion by poets of both good and evil mood.
Some are hateful, others loving, sharing thoughts to be consumed as food.
Verse can lead us to glory or doom as we partake with others within.
Depicting our past, present, and future with words of man's grace or sin.
People write poetry because they have no choice, answering to the call of their gift. Where some tend to pull their readers down, others compose to give them a lift.
Always remember the power of poetry is used by both heaven and hell. It's up to us to choose our pleasure as poetry remains alive and well.